Hi folks, Sundowner here and welcome back to BioShock Infinite. So when we had last left off, we were just about to head up into the Bank of the Prophet and indeed the second phase of this boss fight. But before we move on, we have to get through a little combat sequence and some exploration, which is always nice.
Death to the oppressed!
Gotta reload!
So keeping in theme with my update schedule for this LP, I am just a tad rusty when it comes to the firefights, but it's good that I can always rely on high explosives to get me through the majority of the combat. I promise I will eventually attempt to use more of the powers in more diverse ways, but for rooms like this, explosives tend to be just the best way to go about it. There's no point in elongating fights like this when it's just infantry combat.
All pigs die!
I'm out! I found ammo! Booker, catch!
Much obliged.
Easy as that. Using all of the high explosives and all the bucking bronco tends to get you through combat like this rather quickly. So now we can get a little bit of exploration on after I loot all of these bodies. It's unfortunate that the loot system in this game isn't, really a loot system, but nevertheless you always find something useful on them, even if it's just
You
money.
hold on to this. Here.
Not that we necessarily need it, considering how often Elizabeth seems to be able to throw us a coin. Okay, I think you get the idea, let's move on. So heading to the other end of the room from where we entered, you will see this.
Footsteps seem to go down to the vault.
And as with most things in video games, you want to run the opposite direction of the beaten path because you'll tend to find things. So before we head into that room though, we'll clear out this one other hallway because there is a weapon in here that I want to grab. Not a new special weapon, but a special weapon indeed.
50%.
What's that?
50% of everything people earn here goes right to Comstock as a tithe.
I gotta get me a job in the profit business.
And there she is. Good old shotgun. What could I do without this thing?
Fancy putting those lock-picking skills to work?
Let me have a look. There. Found some money. Catch, Mr. DeWitt.
I think I'm beyond making jokes about this now. It's going to keep happening. I'm not going to lie. She never stops finding money. I really am a big fan of this painting. It's one of the better ones in the game. If I can find a high-res image of it, I'll try and post that along with the update, but it's just a really nice painting. That looks rather ominous. We'll check that out in a minute. Enemies become easier to melee execute. It could be useful if you're trying to play around with melee more, but not necessarily useful for us right now. Speaking of gear, I am going to switch things up. So in the last update I made a pretty sweeping statement that one of the pieces of gear I found wasn't that useful. That was a complete fabrication, and right now I am going to equip it, although originally I was thinking that I might equip the brittle skinned piece of gear because it increases the damage that enemies take once they've just been struck by a melee attack, which is pretty useful. For some reason I had Eel Strike on as well, for no real reason, because I don't use the skylines too much, not enough to warrant using a piece of gear like that. So I equipped Overkill, which will stun nearby enemies upon dealing excessive damage to another one. So pretty much overall increased our damage output and our ability to stun and gain salts, which is all very good. Not that the game is really that difficult, but it makes things look a hell of a lot more impressive as we go.
Alright, let's see. Type 3 letters to spell the voice.
3 letters.
V-O-X. Try the typewriter.
Apparently there wasn't enough budget to put in a hand typing animation. I should point out that Lineth in the thread mentioned that I had actually one more upgrade left, and the infusions, when it reaches 10, it's technically not 10, so you can hit it one more time when it says 10, and then you're capped out. So thank you, Lineth, for pointing that out. I completely let that go over my head.
Here you go.
So we have a new voxophone here from Lady Comstock.
I know the prophet is a liar, but he cannot be. I know the prophet is a murderer, but he cannot be. For if the future lies only in the imagination of God, why would he reveal it to such a monster?
Maybe Lady Comstock knows too much. I don't know. Anywho, now that we have looted this area and found all the interesting stuff, we can head back through the door that we were actually supposed to go to. Also, this little branching off hallway that goes upstairs leads to a dead end. For some reason, it leads to a door, which on the other side is on the stairs above us, when we are in the little teller boxes, or whatever you want to call them, where the bankers would sit and deal with customers. For some reason, just a dead end with green lights above them. I've never really found a reason for that, or a need for it, but it's there nonetheless. It is just as well I come up here though, because I forgot to go and buy a couple of things, mostly just health and salts and whatever ammo we might need. And just like magic, we have everything we need.
Who needs competition when you have quality?
You hold on to this. Here.
Okay, I feel we have sufficiently looted this area, so let's head through to the door where the little cheating arrow pointed to, and oh no.
see him! Make it quick!
As mentioned, small rooms plus Devil's Kiss equals utter death. There is a piece of gear there that I initially was going to get, thinking I'll get that after I do this, but then I realised it's one of those zones you kind of can only enter and can't leave, so unfortunately we missed a piece of gear. I really need to stop using Devil's Kiss, it's making everything just blow by at a pretty hectic pace when I could be using more interesting powers.
And if I do this sabotage, all their patents, all of them, Mr. Fink. Now, why does the Prophet want these two killed?
For the same reason Lady Comstock lies buried.
Child. And why does he want me to do it?
Because only you can make it seem an accident.
I don't think that's the real Lady Comstock. I think she's a combination of herself and my feelings towards her.
What do you mean?
I'm just so angry. At her and at my father. I think she's her, but she's also partly me. I'm not even sure I understand it myself.
That is an interesting theory from Elizabeth, but the problem I have with it is, how the hell did she get that from the tear with Fink talking to that man about assassinating her? Nevertheless, we have a new voxophone from Zachary Comstock.
The Archangel tells me that Columbia will only survive so long as my line sits the throne. Yet Lady Comstock produces no child. I have done what a man can do, yet there is no child. I've asked Lutessa about the matter, but even she refuses to help.
I'm not going to say too much about this voxophone, but yeah, sounds like old Zachary's getting a little bit antsy. This whole area is very creepy because of the sounds that Lady Comstock makes. In general, there aren't many items around here to pick up though. Though there is another voxophone.
Lutess says the bastard is a creation not of her womb, but of some unholy science. I do not know which is true. The child is no more divine than I. What says that from my husband's prophecy? He begs my silence, but I can only offer him forgiveness. But with repentance need come truth. I can suffer his lies no longer.
Again, no comment. And yes, I completely blanked that safe. We'll go and check out the other side, but there isn't really anything to find here either. Okay, so this is kind of creepy. Can I just maybe... Yeah, I'll just hide over here. Okay. No, I guess we have to do this thing. I will admit, I make this look trivial. Otherwise, it really isn't. If it's your first time, it tends to be more difficult because you're trying to work out her act, but when you have as overpowered a skill as Douglas Kiss, it is pretty trivial. Granted, this is only her second phase, so that's not the last we've seen of Lady Comstock's ghost, or whatever the hell she is, according to Elizabeth. So there's nothing else to see in here. I do apologise for this update being a little bit shorter. I actually intended it for it to be longer, but that's just the way of things. So thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.